The Secrets of Stargate is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
You're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, Episode 45.
Janet West, Jackson has identified the seventh symbol.
All right, here we go. We are about to try to make a connection.
All we gotta do is bust out of here, commandeer the ship, and fly on home.
Indeed. You say that a lot.
I know that this could be dangerous. But this is our job, right? It's what we signed on to do.
It was never about going home. It's about getting us to where we're going.
Hi, I'm Jack Barazzini, and you're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, where we talk about the hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. And joining me today are Lisa Jones. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Jack.
And Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Hi, Jack.
Today we're discussing the third episode of Season 2, Fair Game. Do you want to give us a rundown on this episode, Victor?
Absolutely. It's promotion time for now Major Samantha Carter. But just as Jack is about to deliver his epic promotion speech, he is beamed up to Supreme Commander Thor's Asgard spaceship. Thor notifies Jack that the Goa'uld are on their way. They will be sending a force of 100 motherships to destroy the Earth. This is due to SG-1's recent takedown of Hathor, unless they sign on to the Asgard and the Goa'uld's Protected Planets Treaty. Jack doesn't know what this involves, but Thor quickly puts him in charge of the negotiations, and soon 3 Goa'ulds are knocking on Earth's doorstep to negotiate the treaty. There are ins and outs, intrigues, attacks, and backstabbings, and it looks like Earth may be in danger of giving up their Stargate for good. But this is not to be. Jack and SG-1 save the day, and the Earth is saved, and we will talk about how that happens in this episode of Secrets of Stargate a little bit more, because a lot happens.
Yeah, it's a pretty jam-packed episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on it, Lisa?
Well, I think it's a really great episode that ties together so many kind of threads they have pulling. And since we got rid of Apophis, allegedly, we got rid of Hathor, and so we need to kind of get some new big bad Goa'ulds out there. And so we get introduced to 3 really awesome, fun ones. And I think we've heard of Nirti, but not of Kronos and you. And
who?
Me?
And so I like all of the. I mean, this is not one that you can say there was not much plot, just a lot of running around shooting or something. It was, like you said, jam packed with plot, moves it along, kind of sets us up for this season and future, with the return of the Asgard and rumors of even worse people than the Goa'uld, which we do get to meet.
Nice. I'm excited that that's actually a thread that gets paid off. Because that's that's one of those things where shows will often drop something like that, kind of like there's like the worm things from early Next Generation that they never really went anywhere with, and they just turned it into the Borg. But it's nice to see something like that actually get played out and paid off.
Yeah, not like the Furlings.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What about you, Victor?
Well, I'm furling that this is a great episode. This is actually, I think, like one of my favorite episodes, and one of like the 2, like there's 2 platonic ideals of the like ideal episode of Stargate for me. One is when there's something sciencey happening and they figure out what it is, and then they either have to shoot it or blow it up with a bomb. And that was like Matter of Time, where they had like the really deep like wormhole episode, but then they just blew it up with a nuclear bomb. And then the other kind is when there's like some big kind of political intrigue between different factions in space, and there's spaceships involved in some way. And so in this one, we do get, the universe, the Stargate universe is expanded in this, because we learn a lot more about the Goa'uld system lords. We learn a lot more about the Asgard. We learn that the show universe of Stargate is bigger than just the Milky Way galaxy, because the Asgard make reference to their home galaxy in this one. This previously, this faction, the Asgard that we thought were, omnipotent, could just erase the Goa'uld with a big spaceship eraser. They're actually, they have other, going concerns and stuff and can't do that. And so Earth actually seems to be hanging in the balance for much of this episode, which is good. And we get a lot of really good Jack humor, and the best kind of Jack humor is Jack and Thor humor, and we get a lot of that.
Yes. I like that we, with the treaty that they're working out between the Goa'uld and Earth, that you don't really, like, the Asgard are on Earth's side, but they don't come across as just benevolent. Like, that they have their own cards to play. So it's nice to see that there's no one is doing this just out of altruism. And I like that you get those shades of gray with the different factions going on.
Yeah, and you do get the sense that, we'll get to this, that maybe the Asgard needs the humans to keep the Goa'uld busy because they do have something else going on. Right. And yeah.
It's also nice that when we last saw them, or was the last time, and then they just wiped out all the Goa'uld on the planet, their ship comes in and zaps them, so it was kind of cool to see we talked about their show of force, right? And how nice their ships were and everything else. But again, something Stargate does so beautifully, they give us this promise of, wow, this is amazing, but it won't cure your problems. You still got problems. They can't fix it for you. So we still have to fight them, and we still have to move forward, which is, keeps the show going. Yeah,
definitely. I like that. I also like that we see Goa'uld who are not based on Egyptian mythology. Like, they're branching out. We get the Greeks and the Chinese mythology coming in. So it's cool to see them bringing in all those different threads. I really like that.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, we get the Big Trouble in Cheyenne Mountain Goa'uld.
Yep.
There. Not quite Lopan, but
yeah,
and the first of many. And if you think the hey you or hello you jokes are done, they're not.
Nice.
No, we get to see you again.
Yeah,
I liked his character because nice. he comes across almost like he's on the side of the humans. Like, he's not outright hostile. Like, he was much more ambiguous than the other two, where they just seemed straight up hostile. So I like how they played him, and I think he seems pretty interesting. I don't know if they play that out later in the show, but I like how that was done.
It kind of, they do. It's kind of like Earth is his Animal Crossing town, kind of, and he doesn't want to see it messed up necessarily. He's had a hand in kind of like charting their development, but so he doesn't want to see someone come in and wreck it. But at the same time, I mean, it is just kind of his Animal Crossing town.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was you, Jack, that first season you were saying you wanted them to really get into the why, like develop the Goa'uld a little bit more as to why they do these things, how they think. And I think you kind of gives us, I mean, he's not perfect, but it gives us a little bit more. You can see his logic. He's not just like, I'm going to kill you all because I'm evil. They are able to reason with him a little bit and get out of it with the treaty. And that works for them a little later on. But he does have his own self-interest.
Yeah.
But as long as they align with ours,
Right, exactly. And you get that with the Asgard too. Like, they're not here just to take care of people. They're playing their own game.
Yeah, and they make that very explicit, I think, at the end of this season or the next season when they do enlist Earth's help. And this is not the last time Jack or members of the SGC just kind of get beamed up in the middle of a sentence by the Asgard. And it's always to comedic effect, so it's always kind of wonderful when it happens. It's like a little running gag, but not one that they overdo.
Yeah, like how he starts off his speech with "I'm a man," a few words, and then he just gets beamed up.
And in conclusion,
yep. Yeah, that was good. And I like I've been impressed with the puppet work on the Asgard in this show. Like, they do a good job of that. Like, it's good to see practical effects like that, and also the expansion of the sets. Like, I know later on we get more and more of those spaceship sets, so it's fun to see something that's spaceship based on this.
Yeah, and not just the puppets in this episode, but the integration of like CGI with the puppets, because there is a scene where and you'll notice that the Asgard always kind of beam down in their chair, like their puppetry rig chair. But in this one, like, Thor gets up out of his chair, walks across, and this is 22, 23 years ago, CGI animation on cable television, and it's integrated very well with the puppet work. Like it's not jarring. Like now you can look at it and say, oh, it's CG versus puppet, but it's it works very well. It keeps the model is intact and stuff, and it just works very well.
I was a little bit hoping that we'd just see him be a puppet the whole time, and you get the hand sticks, he'd pick up a banjo and start playing Rainbow Connection. That would have been fun.
We're going to Hollywood.
The great Asgard
Come on,
caper.
Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was good. And I, like you were saying, I like these political intrigue episodes that expand the universe, and you get these different factions playing against each other, and how you really see that Earth is a small player in this, and they're kind of just everyone's punching bag or pawn. And it's kind of like Star Trek flipped on its head, where instead of the humans being the face of the Federation and the most powerful force who's going out and making first contact, Earth is this planet who's getting used by everyone else.
But more than that, they're like this catalyst. Like there's been this established galactic order that's preserved for like, who knows how many thousands of years. And then all of a sudden Earth activates their Stargate, and suddenly the balance of everything changes because Earth is out there like, FSU, and just messing things up wherever they go and disrupting the galactic order, which is a very, human thing to do.
More of them sticking their nose in and just gating to wherever and seeing what happens.
Yeah. And it's almost like they're like a resource that the Goa'uld need because they need hosts. And so it's nice to see like that disruption that you get there.
Hosts and slaves, according to the treaty. That's their purpose. Yeah, I liked that. This is the first time we've heard about the Goa'uld system lords, right, from the Tok'ra and from Teal'c. But this is where we really got to see how they work with each other. Because if you think about their personalities and how, like we said, I just want to kill you and enslave you, and because I'm evil. So how do they work together if they're all out for themselves?
Right.
And so now we know it's a very dysfunctional group that are all out for themselves, but try not to anger each other so much that they all fight.
Right. They have that delicate balance where they all want to rebel against each other and take over, but they can't because they know if one of them tries, the other ones will team up on them. And so it's just out of the fact that they don't want to get destroyed that they're actually in this alliance, which is very fragile.
And like they said, they're just trying to keep one from becoming all powerful. Because if one becomes all powerful, then it the whole system lords, it falls apart.
Right.
And considering that they are all lying, scheming, no good for nothing, slimy, overdressed style mongers.
Nice.
And yet Jack wasn't finished. I love how he's interrupted in that. And he's like, and I wasn't finished.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what the rest of that tirade was. That'd be good to hear. Just keep it going. I want to get that on a mug too. That'd be good merch for us.
Yeah, Jack, like Richard Dean Anderson, and like this is a Robert C. Cooper written episode. And like Jack has seemed like in the past few episodes, he seemed kind of like, not catatonic, but like subdued.
Yeah.
And this like Jack is just like the epitome of Jackness. He's just like firing on all cylinders, especially like his scenes with Thor, where Thor is being very cagey about what the humans should do. Jack's trying to like, give me a sign here type thing.
Yeah.
I thought that was very well done.
It's also funny that Thor, who's met Jack several times at this point and knows his personality, I would assume somewhat still chooses him to be the representative for Earth in these negotiations, knowing what loose cannon he can be with his mouth.
He's really the only, he's the only one he's really
true.
met.
Well, Thor met Sam and Daniel, the hologram Thor met Sam and Daniel in the cave where they solved the mist puzzles. And then I don't know that he's actually met Jack because on the Asgard planet where he had the ancient knowledge sucked out of him, it could have been like any Asgard there.
That's true.
And they even say like kind of at the beginning, it's like, oh, it's nice to finally meet you, Mr. Thor.
Are you saying that all Asgard look alike?
Not to me. I mean, I know some people they do, but
Just depends. How they style their hair that day.
yeah,
right?
when it comes to the Asgard, there's really like 50 shades of gray. So you just learn to differentiate between them.
I did see this is a bit of a tangent, but it has to do with the Asgard. It was one of those YouTube channels that does like the conspiracy theory alien videos, and they have this thing going through like the top 10 like pictures that prove aliens are real, and one of the photographs is like in this like warehouse, and like you can see the alien in the back here, and it is literally one of the puppets from SG1 of the Asgard.
Oh
That's
no.
awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I
So yeah,
love
one of the big reveals we get in this episode is Teal'c's history with Kronos, that his father was the first prime to Kronos, and that he killed him when he was unable to win this unwinnable like battle. And at this point, I feel like they've had enough of these run-ins with Teal'c where they get some crucial piece of information that is dealing with his psyche and how he's going to interact with people at a moment where it causes a lot of problems, that he really, really needs to go to counseling and just work out his stuff.
Teal'c, why did you shoot up the mall? Santa Claus killed my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
It's like, no. And then what's really inexcusable about this is that like Daniel doesn't tell anyone. It's like, oh yeah, so Teal'c could potentially like pop off at any moment and like kill like one of the representatives of this like crucial to Earth tree. Well, you told me that in confidence, so I'm not going to pass that along to anybody yet.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess he's not a mandatory reporter or something, but I feel like that's pretty crucial information. It's kind of like I feel like this is similar to how Data became in Next Generation, where like every season you get one episode where Data would just go haywire or something would happen with him where he'd like endanger the entire lives of the crew, and yet Picard is still like, I trust him implicitly. It's like, he tries to destroy you at least once a season. Why do you trust him still?
My brother's in town. What?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
See, and I love that they are continuing. See, the character of Teal'c to me could be just so one-dimensional, right? And I think a lot of shows it might have been, but I feel like they just keep giving us a little bit more. They could have just played it off as, I was first prime, we fought with Kronos, I don't like him, right?
Yeah.
But then he gives this whole, because Kronos killed his father, who was his first prime, he decided they had to flee to Chulak, and then he decided to be the best, toughest, strongest Jaffa ever, so that he could go into service as first prime for Kronos' evil enemy. And I don't know, it's like, yeah, they just keep giving us a little bit more rather than just being like, yeah, we fought him.
That is,
which I feel like is like first season Teal'c.
yeah,
right?
that is true. And I actually have to backtrack some of that because Teal'c didn't actually do anything wrong in this. It was Nirti used that as a lever against them to frame Teal'c. And so really even though he didn't tell anyone and it could be a potential problem, none of the issues actually came from him.
Right. He kept control.
Yeah.
Right. Except for I love, and what was wrong with General Hammond. Teal'c, you're gonna cater to the Goa'uld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of all the people, right? Like, and then he goes, "Oh, okay, you can be on security." And it's like, really? You don't think that was the better idea from the start?
Yeah. Maybe Teal'c, you set this one out.
Yeah, I feel like that's a conflict of interest.
Issues?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a ticket to Florida. Go see Disney World. You'll like it.
Whereas then we wouldn't get Daniel's awesome line, right? I will see to the petty needs.
Yeah.
I mean, I really feel like that would be the job of some like airmen or something, just to take care of all that. You don't need your top people bringing them water bottles and stuff.
But only Daniel's going to know like what would appeal to a god and like what would be reasonable to, like,
yeah,
like from mythology perspective. And yeah. Yeah, and it's just like marshmallows and jello, right? So what? This is ambrosia. No, they and so they have to agree to give up all their weapons, and we get the scene of Chekhov's Goa'uld healing device being no, that's not a weapon. You keep that over here,
right?
So you're like, okay, so that's going to come back in at some point, which it does.
Oh, you mean the cherry Danish?
Yeah, cherry Danish. But and then you get scenes like when the Goa'uld are finally arriving, get like the move through the corridor scenes, and like all the guards are carrying guns. And
Yeah,
so
I
like
thought-
our 9-year-old was like, wait, they're carrying guns. And I was like, well, maybe they're like emergency evacuating the base because they didn't have 3 days notice that these people would be showing up. I don't know. It's just, I think they used like stock footage from another episode of like soldiers running through the base with guns.
Yeah.
It's a little
They forgot.
disorienting. Yeah.
But then, okay, so maybe I missed it. So then at the end, when Nirti grabs the gun, why was there a gun?
Because
They
when
go
Jack
get the
turns the
gun?
tables on them, he says,
Okay.
here's another rule that I haven't broken yet.
Okay,
And the
okay, I
soldiers
must have
come in
missed
with
that.
guns. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I was emptying the dishwasher.
Yeah, because they come in to arrest them, and so I guess they had some guns
They went and got the guns.
in their back pocket,
Yeah.
so to speak. I do like how, I know we talked about the episode with the Ritu, where that doesn't really go anywhere. I like that is incorporated into this, where they talk about the Ritu being an enemy, and they talk about how when Nirti uses her invisibility device, that's kind of to fight against the Ritu. And so it kind of, you can kind of headcanon that maybe Nirti dealt with the Ritu, and that's why you don't see them later on, because they're just on that one planet.
Yeah. We do know that Nirti does capture people and like or beings and experiment on them and stuff. So it's possible that she like captured a few and then like laid waste to the rest.
Yeah, she was successful in her experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do also like, so we get the whole twist at the end is that she used her invisibility device to frame Kronos and Teal getting into that fight. I like how as soon as they accuse her of that, she immediately turns it on just to prove them right. It's like, why don't you just not do that? And that's going to help your case a little bit.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
I have to run to the bathroom. And if I don't come back, it means I'm still in the bathroom.
Yeah. Because the
Pretty much.
best way to show you're not guilty is when someone accuses you of lying, to stand up and angrily yell at them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she is a Goa'uld, and that's kind of their thing. But I do like how they immediately grab the I forget what they're called now, the anti-Ritu like rods or whatever they're called, and they like turn them on her and stuff. But I do like how when she's invisible and she's holding the weapon and she put the rifle and she puts the rifle down, the rifle is no longer invisible. That was how it worked, right? I mean, if she's no longer touching it, it would become visible again. So
yeah,
in theory. And I like the way the background kind of moved a little bit. So even though you couldn't see her, you could kind of figure out where she was supposed to be.
Yeah, she's got the predator thing going on.
Yeah, that was a nice little touch.
Yeah, I like that. I like how the anti-Ritu devices are kind of like a flashlight. You just shine it, and you get the different spots. So that was cool.
And
I do like how they reuse that prop several different times for different kind of devices. They just flip it over and put different things on it. So that's always fun to see.
Just add things.
Yeah.
I have to say, I loved her outfit. I felt like all the beading and you just got the heft of it. And I thought that was, after what we've seen with Hathor and Emancipation, and, some of the way they dressed some of the women, I loved her gown. I thought that was very nice, very well done.
all the gowns look pretty good, like Yu's and Kronos's also. I mean,
Kronos just sheepskin.
Yeah. And you're right. They did a good job, like making sure it wasn't all like, oh, here's like, the denizens of King Tut's tomb back again. It was, different. Yeah.
Diversifying.
Right.
Yeah. And the Goa'ulds aren't all like, roar, kill the humans. They all, have some like reasoning and, savvy behind them.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah.
I was kind of sad that we never saw any. Well, I guess they came through the Stargate, so scratch that. But I was thinking we never saw like any sort of standoff between their ships and the Asgard, but I guess they never actually got to Earth. So
true. What'd you think of that? And this is the first time we've seen the interior of the Asgard ship, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it's cool. I like seeing more of the different spaceships, and I know we get more of that later on, like with the data list and all that. So I'm excited
we'll see a lot.
Yeah,
a lot more Asgard later too.
I like their beaming technology too. When they like beam someone up from Earth, it's not like a transporter beam that's instantaneous. There's like a little like kind of the rainbow bridge, kind of like it takes a while for like the little energy blip to get up to the ship.
It takes about as much time as O'Neill can give a speech.
Yeah.
I like that you see it from space, like you see the ship and then you see the little street going up.
Yeah.
And And the little communication device that he said, just put it on your hand and speak.
Yeah.
I was gonna say maybe those are crystals, but later on we see a lot more crystals, and those aren't them. They're always these like glowy rocks, like flat-sided.
Yeah, those are like the ancient communication stones that they discover in the Pegasus galaxy. It's this exact same shape. So I think it's an Asgard application of the ancient communication stones, which then enable communication between Earth and Destiny and Stargate universe. So they
all three shows.
Yeah, that it like note that teardrop shape of that communication stone because it does factor in quite a bit later on in SG-1, Atlantis, and Universe.
Nice. Yeah, I was thinking it was the Asgard Alexa or something.
Yeah.
So just give him that to chat with him.
I kind of expected when Thor showed up in the conference room, and he just talked to O'Neill. Like never said, yeah, it's me, Thor, nothing. He's just like looking at O'Neill. They're coming here. You're going to speak. Gotta go.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I kind of expected O'Neill to turn around and be like, could y'all see him? Like, was he, thinking maybe it was a hologram or something else? But because I think we've seen before where, well, I guess we see after this, but one of them goes up, but they're not actually there. They're still where they are, but
Yeah.
And I do love how like Jack like raises like very like sensible objections at various points, and then like Hammond or whomever will turn to him and say like, well, we're trusting the Asgard based on your word. He's like look, I just met him. It's like
met the guy.
I have these objections, like very sensible like precautions I want to take.
And we get the Secretary of Defense there just kind of rolling over to all the Goa'uld's demands, like they're going to give up the Stargate and not travel anymore. And it's like, you're kind of just throwing everything out. Like, you maybe want to talk about that more. Like, you already defeated one of them. You feel like you have some bargaining power.
And even almost bigger than that to me, that you agree not to technologically evolve.
Yeah.
To the point where they deem you're a threat.
Yeah.
Well, hold on a second. Let's think about that. They've already killed 2 Goa'ulds. So are they a threat or not? So they're already a threat. Well, if the system lords determine that they're a threat enough to make a treaty, then wouldn't they already be enough of a threat to violate the treaty? So it doesn't work for me. That would have been a big one.
It's very nebulous, like the whole extended magazines on guns things. Like
exactly, I was just thinking 2A rights. Yeah, it's like yes, they have the right to bear arms, but not this particular trigger. It's this trigger's okay, this trigger is not.
Yeah.
Yes, you can 3D print this trigger.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna do anything about that at this point.
In the real world, you would never agree to a contract like that. Never. Too vague.
And you think that they would be a bit more peeved off at the Asgard for kind of none of those terms in that treaty were favorable to Earth.
Except for the one that says you can't blow up Earth.
Yeah.
Except for that
well,
one.
I mean, granting the passage of Nylor, I mean, that's pretty good. Yeah. Goa'uld can use the passage of Nylor. I mean, that's nothing to
It's like the equivalent
sneeze
of
at.
letting your neighbor walk through your backyard. I mean,
It's an easement.
Yeah.
Nylor. Yeah. I mean,
it's like, you give an inch, they're going to take a mile. These are not trustworthy people.
But the Goa'uld really wanted that passage of Nylor because then they agree to it. It's like, yeah, definitely we'll take the passage of Nylor. Gosh, just, don't wave that under our noses. We'll bite at that right away.
And I do like how we get that first scene in the conference room where Jack's pulling the chairs out for everyone. And then Thor just beams down in his big giant, his alien lazy boy. I like that. And how he doesn't really coach O'Neill on this at all. He's like, all right, you're going to be the representative, but we're not going to have like any sort of prep meetings. You're just going to go in there blind. And then the first thing he says is going to offend them. Like he's not really, he doesn't end up being that helpful to the humans in this.
Yeah. Well, I think he sees Jack as kind of like a hand grenade. Like, I'll just like light the fuse. Not that's what you do, but I'll just like light the fuse. Jack will do something. That'll be my opening gambit. Jack will get upset. He'll beam up to the ship. He'll do the thing from Galaxy Quest where he says, do you guys ever say one thing and mean the other? Like, we'll have this discussion. So I think Thor knows what's going on, and his whole thing is like, I need to get back to my galaxy like as soon as possible because like this other threat is totally like eating us alive. So
Yeah.
So you're saying Thor is much more of a master manipulator than he lets on.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's been manipulating humans for like thousands of years, right? I mean, so
That's true.
yeah,
Genetically and
yeah, genetically and otherwise, yeah.
Obviously, yeah.
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 Oh, and this was the first episode Michael Shanks as Thor.
Yes.
Finally got there.
I don't think that was Michael Shanks like crouched under the chair with his little hand like stuck up in Thor's head or something, but I think as the voice, definitely.
Definitely the voice.
Fun fact, that was Frank Oz under the chair. No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to say,
yeah.
what do you get for your puppets?
Yeah.
So, I guess at this point it'd be Brian Henson, but
Yeah.
I don't know who did the puppets for this.
Like, Vancouver based like puppetry A.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, puppets are I'm glad that the more recent Star Wars shows have kind of brought that back because I feel like we lost that for a while. It's nice to see those practical puppet effects for aliens. So, yeah, it was a good episode. It's nice to see the politics of the world get advanced, and it's also nice to see you don't really get a real resolution to this. It's more just they've kicked the can down the road a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what are you talking about? They signed the Protected Planets Treaty. It's all good.
kind of like the Treaty
Earth
of
is
Versailles.
protected.
How that worked. Well, that worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good.
As they say, it's not a perfect galaxy.
Yeah. Peace in our time.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Did y'all have any other thoughts on this episode?
No, I think that's it for me.
Nice.
Yeah. Me too.
Awesome. Well, we did have some feedback. Paul Leone on our episode on Show and Tell says on YouTube, Ford and the Pegasus Asgard are both addressed in the SGA Legacy novel series. They're pretty good as far as media tie-in books go, and they might be worth checking out. I'll have to check those out. Have either of y'all read any of the extended Stargate novels or anything like that?
No. That is interesting though, because I haven't thought about that.
I have not read those, but I find your views intriguing and would like to subscribe to your newsletter for sure. I mean, if I get a chance, I'll definitely look those up and read them. Otherwise, we might have to bring in an expert on the expanded universe there.
Yeah, definitely. So I know I've read some of the Star Trek ones, but I've not really dived into anything else as far as those go. And on Twitter, we get Captain Mutant talking about our also the episode Show and Tell. He asked, "What happens to the Ritu? They sounded like they were gearing up to be a major foe, and then nothing." And that's kind of how I feel about it. I like the design of them. I like that they were different. They're non-humanoid, and then they don't really go anywhere. But as we talked about in that episode, I think it was just a matter of probably budgeting.
Yeah. I wish I had a better answer for the captain of the mutants, but unfortunately I do not.
Yeah. Although I will say they were effective in that episode, but I'm glad they didn't kind of take them in the direction they went with Species 8472 and Voyager, where you saw way too much of them and the technology at the time was not good enough to do that kind of design. So they did them in a clever way where you don't see them most of the time. And it's kind of like Jaws. It works out when you don't see it.
Or better yet, it's like suddenly we can appear as humans for no reason. And now we are all human actors. Right. And it's a good thing that SG-1 doesn't have a very powerful enemy that they kind of overuse initially that suddenly takes on human form for, the replicators. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I've heard about those and I'm excited to see them. I know that there were these robots in one of the more recent episodes of the Book of Boba Fett, and I saw a lot of people online were referencing the replicators with those. So they were like building a hut, and they're these little like robots, so
I had the same thought when we were watching that episode. My family and we all went replicators.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my biggest regret is not buying one of the individual like plastic replicator blocks when it came up at an online auction for a very reasonable price.
Okay, you've seen all these shows. You would have one of those in your house?
Like, oh, you're right. Yikes. Yikes, yes.
Like that's the stuff nightmares are made of.
I do have advanced technology they would want to assimilate.
That's right.
I have some trinium right here, as a matter of fact.
They might go for
They
those
might
laser
wanna eat
discs you
that.
have on
No.
the wall behind you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I always it's always fun to see what comes up on those prop auctions, and most of the time it's way out of anything I could reasonably spend, but it's still cool to see.
And if you want Richard Dean Anderson's fake Jaffa stomach from Hathor, I did see that one come up on a on a site
You
recently.
should have said like a warning when you posted that picture. That was so gross.
Yeah, it needs
Everybody needs a prosthetic stomach, right?
I mean, why not?
With a big pile.
Yeah.
You could use it to serve like queso at your parties or something.
Yeah. Or if you have a Quado, it could just be like Quaid. That's what's that Mars movie that Arnold Schwarzenegger was in? Yeah. Yeah. Total Recall.
Total Recall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
We can remember it for you wholesale was the story, but
nice. Awesome. Yeah, before we'd like to go, we'd like to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Stargate, including John Z, Jeff F, Scott S, Danielle H, and Morgan N. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or on the SQPN YouTube channel. To find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. You can email us at stargate@sqpn.com or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on Twitter at SQPN. You can also join the StarQuest Fan Club mailing list by texting StarQuest to 66866. Send StarQuest to 66866. And we'll be back next time when we'll be discussing the next episode of SG-1 Legacy. Until then, Lisa Jones, thank you for joining me and sharing the Secrets of Stargate.
Thanks, Jack.
And Victor Lambs, thank you as well.
thanks, Jack. And your idea of accommodation is pitiful.
I'm Jack Brazzini, and once again, thank you for listening to the Secrets of Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?